Reporting from Arkham Asylum, this is Gotham Rogues. In this video we spotlight Marion Cotillard's Talia al Ghul from the movie The Dark Knight Rises. Well, the time has come for the final cinematic Bat-Rogue. I'm of course talking about Talia al Ghul, played by Marion Cotillard in Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises from 2012. Don't skip the end of this video as I'm going to summarize this entire series and give it a proper send-off. And yes, I will eventually do the Suicide Squad video, but I consider that as a bonus episode. This is the true final segment of Batman movie villains, at least for many years to come. So, in the movie, we're introduced to Miranda Tate, a wealthy socialite and philanthropist in Gotham City. She's taken an interest in Bruce Wayne, and specifically his shelved clean energy project. Years ago, Wayne built a fusion reactor capable of producing pollution-free power, but put the plans on ice when he learned the reactor could be weaponized. Miranda seduces Bruce and convinces him that she has Gotham's best interests in mind, and is therefore able to gain access to the reactor. However, she turns out to be Talia in disguise, the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, the former leader of the League of Shadows, an ancient vigilante group who tried to destroy Gotham several years earlier. They were only stopped by the interference of Wayne as Batman, and Ra's perished as a result. Talia blames Bruce for her father's death, and with the help of Bane, her loyal protector, she's taken command of the League. Together they intend to finish Ra's al Ghul's work by destroying Gotham using Bruce's own fusion reactor. Talia al Ghul is a pretty interesting character in the comics. She's in love with Batman, but she also loves her father, of course. This causes a conflict within Talia, because Batman and Ra's are deadly enemies. What should she do? How can she be with Bruce, yet at the same time remain loyal to her father? She's also a morally grey character. While she agrees with her father's end goal, to make the world a better place, she does not agree with his murderous methods. In this movie, all of that is thrown out the window, and instead we get a weak, boring Talia who's even far more evil than her dad. She doesn't seem to give a shit about the League's beliefs. Just like Bane, she just wants to destroy Gotham and kill billions of people out of spite. At least Ra's had a reason for doing it. He believed in a dream that could only be achieved through drastic measures. That's compelling even if you don't agree with him. With Talia here, it really does feel like she's just got nothing better to do. In my Bane video, I said that I got the impression he was in on a plan because he wanted to cause people pain. His entire life had been endless pain, so that's all he wishes for others. I get the same vibes from Talia. That's the true reason she's doing all of this. She's full of hate and capable of nothing but destruction. After all, like Bane, she too lived a life of pain, perhaps worse so even. Bane's origins are never confirmed, but it is explained that Talia was born in the Pit, the hellhole prison in the ground somewhere in the Middle East. There she grew up and watched her own mother be brutally murdered. She had to spend the rest of her time there in constant fear of being subjected to equal violence. So I think it makes sense that her horrific past may possibly have completely scarred her for life. Of course, that is never made clear in the movie, and instead the official motive is getting revenge for her dad's demise at the hands of Batman. I don't really buy that though, because Talia states that she hated her father and could never forgive him for banishing Bane from the League. She presumably hadn't even spoken to him in years when he died. Killing billions of innocent people for the sake of a man she had disowned seems a little far-fetched. She also couldn't care too much about the League's agenda, considering she abandoned them to leave with Bane. She never gives any grandiose speeches about it either, like Ra's did, restoring the balance, cleansing fires and all that. In the end, her motives seem more malevolent than well-meaning. She doesn't want to save the world, she wants to watch it burn, and that is not how Talia is supposed to be portrayed. I really don't like the twist with this character. She spends most of the movie as Miranda Tate, and isn't revealed to be Talia until the end of the final act. We get very little screen time with her as Talia, which made it impossible to flesh the character out. This could be why her motivations are so flimsy. There was just no time to explore them. So why the hell did Nolan do this? Why was it necessary to include a twist yet again? I saw it coming miles away anyway. In fact, as soon as I heard Cotillard was cast as this Miranda Tate person, I knew it was Talia in disguise. It was just so obvious. I mean, come on. They did it in Begins with Ra's. We knew that the League was going to be in the movie, and who's this Miranda Tate? Of course it's Talia. It was a terrible twist that never worked. You could spot it a mile away. It ruined any chances of Talia being explored, and it ruined Bane's backstory. Now that I think about it, it's one of the dumbest twists in movie history. While I never saw the point of hiding Ra's al Ghul's true identity in Batman Begins, at least it worked there. While I didn't really think Ra's died there in the monastery so early in the movie, I didn't quite know what was going on. Something was up, but I wasn't sure what. I think it's because Henry Ducard was an actual character from the comics, and why shouldn't Liam Neeson be playing him? He was also interesting and compelling, unlike Miranda Tate. When we finally learned that Ducard was actually Ra's al Ghul, the character still remained the same. He didn't really change, only his name did. All those things he said earlier in the movie, all the things he stood for, they still applied. He hadn't been talking out of his ass, faking a personality like his daughter would do a decade later. Miranda Tate as a person was just a facade, while Henry Ducard was real. As for Marion Cotillard's performance, it's as good as the role allowed it to be. She does her job well, but there's just nothing to the character, leaving the actress very little to work with. Of course, her infamous death scene is absolutely horrendous, and apparently Cotillard agrees. I read somewhere that she wanted Nolan to use another take, but for some reason he refused. I don't have much to say about the visual design of the character. She's just a woman. And often that's what she looks like in the comics too. An ordinary, although smoking hot, woman. She does wear weird, colorful outfits sometimes, but none of them have ever stuck. And frankly, they all kinda suck anyway. Talia has just never had an interesting design, so at least the movie stayed true to that. In conclusion, Talia is by far the worst of the Nolan rogues. She's the only one of his villains that I'd say is outright bad. I've got some issues with a few of the others, but none of them stink like Talia does. So yeah, she gets that award. The only Dark Knight trilogy rogue to be a complete failure. In my opinion, she should have been cut from the movie, leaving Bane as the sole main villain, and Catwoman as a sort of secondary antagonist and anti-hero. So there you have it. Those are the cinematic Bat-Rogues. While I'm glad we've gotten so many of them represented on a big screen, unlike some other Rogues galleries, I do have to say that overall I'm pretty disappointed by Hollywood's depiction of the Batman villains. A few of them are great, yes, but most of them are either just okay or downright terrible. Let's take a look at them all, why don't we, and briefly recap all of my thoughts from this series. Jack Nicholson's Joker from Batman '89. I think this is a near perfect Joker. He's funny, crazy, murderous, over the top in a good way, packing tons of wacky gadgets and sporting garishly colorful Joker outfits. This is the classic Joker captured really well in live action. A vain and deranged clown with a morbid sense of humor and a flair for the theatrical. Danny DeVito's Penguin from Batman Returns. I appreciate what they were going for, but I think they kinda messed it up. Focusing on Penguin's deformity, portraying him as an outcast freak, was a great idea, but it doesn't really work when you make him a completely unsympathetic, pure evil monster. If he had been depicted as a sad and tragic character, then this would have been a fantastic, albeit different take on Oswald. Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman from Batman Returns. It's very different from the usual Catwoman portrayals, and at times makes no sense, but I can't help but really like this take on Selina. She's got a fascinating split personality going on, starting off as a meek mouse of a woman, to then be transformed into a bold and defiant daredevil. It's about the type of person you are versus what you would really like to be, and I find that to be a very interesting subject. This take is not faithful, no, but still really good. Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face from Batman Forever. Yeah, you know I hate this one. Instead of getting a tragic fallen hero torn between good and evil from the comics, we get a buffoonish moron who acts completely evil all the time. He's not Two-Face, he's One-Face. This take on Harvey has zero depth, looks like crap, and is goofy as hell. A terrible adaptation. And to all those saying he flips his coin until he gets the result he wants in the comics too, yeah, he did it once, in a 1986 comic written by Doug Monk. The guy who writes one of the worst Two-Faces ever. Jim Carrey's Riddler from Batman Forever. I've got mixed feelings about this one. I don't hate it, but I certainly don't love it either. It's the best Schumacher rogue, but that's not saying much. There are some really interesting aspects to this take on Nigma, like his obsession with Bruce Wayne and his desire to be the smartest man in Gotham. But Jim Carrey is just too over the top, goofy and comedic. He acts more like a silly version of the Joker, and plus they incorporated riddles very poorly. An alright take. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze from Batman and Robin. Ice puns, ice puns, ice puns. On paper, this is actually a great Mr. Freeze, like straight out of the animated series, but they just totally ruined it in the execution. Arnie's horribly goofy performance, the ridiculous designs, horrendously cheesy dialogue, and of course, all those darn ice puns. This take on Freeze is so bad, it's basically become legendary. Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy from Batman and Robin. Just like Arnie's Freeze, Uma's Ivy is great on paper. It's a pure evil take on a character, which is not my personal favorite, but still perfectly faithful to how Ivy is often portrayed in the comics. But again, the execution is just awful. In fact, I'd say Uma's Ivy is almost unwatchable. She's not funny in an ironic way like Arnie's Freeze. Instead, she's cringe-worthy to painful degrees. Probably my least favorite cinematic Batrogue, even beating Tommy Lee. Jeep Swenson's Bane from Batman and Robin. Technically and objectively speaking, this is definitely the worst movie version of a Batman villain. They took a character who was an intellectual master, strategist, and turned him into Ivy's brain-dead goon. I think they just looked at a picture of Bane from the comics and based their portrayal off of that, using only his most superficial aspects. It's a severe insult to the source material and just a stupid character. Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul from Batman Begins. It feels like this guy is really overlooked. Despite being the main villain in Begins, you never really see anyone talk about him. I think this take on Ra's is great. I've never been fully on board with the comic book version of the character and actually find this depiction to be superior. I like his motivations and his role as a mentor to Bruce. The only complaint I have is that he didn't have enough screen time, and maybe that's why people often tend to forget him. Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow from Batman Begins. I'm pretty meh about this one. This take on Crane is not bad, and it certainly has its moments, but I feel that there's just so much more to the character than what was offered here. He's never really explored, has too little screen time, and is played up as a pretty weak villain, acting only as Ross's patsy. That's not what Scarecrow is supposed to be. Not a terrible take, but far from a great one. Heath Ledger's Joker from The Dark Knight. A very different take from the Nicholson version, and that's exactly what it needed to be. Instead of rehashing the classic Joker, Nolan did something utterly unique, giving us a fascinating, alternate portrayal of the character. A nihilistic, grungy, psychotic terrorist who spews philosophical ideas that actually kinda make sense in a way. I'm not sure which one I'd pick as my favorite between this one and the '89 Joker. They're both so great, but in different ways. Aaron Eckhart's Two-Face from The Dark Knight. A vast improvement over the Tommy Lee version and a fascinating character in of itself, I still feel this take on Dent is a disappointment. Like I said, as a part of this movie, I think it works great, but it's not a worthy adaptation of Two-Face. It's a similar problem like I have with Nolan's Scarecrow. There's just so much more to Harvey Dent than being the hapless pawn in the Joker's social experiment. Tom Hardy's Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. Another vast improvement of a Schumacher rogue, even though this take isn't very faithful to the source material either. I love the characteristics of this Bane. His voice, the speech pattern, his body language, the expressive eyes. He's a very entertaining character, yet at the same time very intimidating. I also love the freak aspect added to him with his facial handicap. However, I don't like the lack of proper motivations and a confusing backstory. And finally, Anne Hathaway's Catwoman from The Dark Knight Rises. Unlike the Burton version, this one is very accurate to the source material, despite some superficial differences. It perfectly captures the spirit and soul of Catwoman from the comics, particularly the 1990s Jim Ballant era. Selina is a lovable rogue who only looks out for number one, but deep down she really does care about others and will rise to the occasion when it is truly called for. Besides the lack of a cat theme, this is as perfect as a cinematic Catwoman is going to get. And of course I don't have to rehash what I just said about Marion Cotillard's Talia. She sucks. And that's it for Batman movie villains. It took me about a year and a half to finish this series. I've enjoyed making it and will miss it, but at the same time it's kinda nice to have something wrapped up and done. I actually almost didn't make the series. Originally I was only going to do 2 movie villains videos, the top 5 best movie villains and the top 5 worst. I even wrote the script for the best, but didn't like it, and felt that these depictions all needed their own separate videos. After all, the movie versions are very important. They are the ones most people know. I still to this day meet people who think that Penguin is supposed to be a grotesque freak from the sewers. That's how big of an impact these versions have made on the mainstream public. The regular Joes out there have never heard of Nightfall. They know Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. So yeah, it's these versions that are the real versions to most people. And considering so many of them stink, that's a real shame. But nothing can be done about it. Comic books and even cartoons are a niche hobby. The live action films will always be dominant. All I hope is that Hollywood will someday start treating comic book supervillains better in their adaptations. Anyway, Happy New Year, and remember, Arkham Asylum awaits you in the next video.